Have you ever wondered why old, late 90s racing games just seem to hit different? And despite modern developers trying to hold your hand with pad filtering techniques, brake to drift mechanics, and excessive side force, stuff you played as a kid just drove a lot better without any of that nonsense? There's actually a science behind that. And it surprisingly doesn't have anything to do with the car handling. The best 90s racing games that we all remember, these are games that were commercially successful and we picked up quite easily, even as kids not knowing proper racecraft or how to find a racing line. They all operated on something called the 3 to 1 ratio. This is something I made up, but by the end of this video, it's not really made up. For every 3 corners on the track, and it's never more than 3 corners on the track, there's at least one large identifiable landmark or one somewhat major scenery change. Now your first comment is, what the fuck is Austin smoking? The answer is indica, but you all played this game growing up as a kid. There's the bridge, there's a left-hander, the right-hander's coming up, and by the third turn, there's the change of scenery, the town and hometown. And the moment you see the town, you know that, okay, that 90-degree right-hander at the school is imminent. Every track in Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit is built like this. Now what this meant for kids growing up in the late 1990s who obviously had not spent hundreds of hours on racing sims honing their craft is that even if they were somewhat bad drivers, which most of us were back in the day, let's not kid ourselves, memorizing the tracks is pretty easy because it was more or less memorizing a set of landmarks and then 2 or 3 turns after those landmarks, the way you'd memorize your own neighborhood. You gotta think, when you're a kid walking to school, you don't have a smartphone because it's 1998. You don't have Google Maps or MapQuest because it's 1998 and most of y'all parents wouldn't let you be on the computer more than 30 minutes at a time. I heard the stories. But you did generally know how to get around, go to school, get to your friend's house, go to church, go to the 7-Eleven for a Slurpee, by following just a basic set of landmarks. Walk to this house, turn here. Walk to that landmark or that street, turn there. Your friend's house is the 5th house down. That's what track design was in the late 1990s, and it helped really young kids get really good at these games without a racing line, without brake to drift, without auto braking, without auto gas, without auto steering, without side force, without anything that modern devs are trying to put into their games to make their racing games easier. And it's all because memorizing a new track back in the day was as easy as learning your walk home from school. I mean, a lot of the tracks in like Monster Truck Madness, Revolt, or Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, you learn by like the 3rd or 4th lap period, even as a kid. So at that point, you can just focus solely on the driving, or as a young kid, just the motor skills of using a game controller. The problem modern developers are running into today, whether they're on the sim side of things, the simcade side of things, or the arcade side of things, the scale of the game world is just completely off the rails. I mean, whether you're playing Need for Speed, Forza Horizon, or The Crew, you're dealing with, in some cases, a scaled down city or a scaled down version of the United States in which no 2 corners are the same throughout the game's entire career mode. It's basically like making an 8-year-old drive a rally stage at full speed for 4 hours straight. No wonder player retention is not what it used to be. And this is very likely why you have such fond memories of these old late 90s racing games from back in the day, but maybe you're struggling to pick stuff up recently nowadays. It really had nothing to do with the car handling, it was easier to memorize tracks back in the day when technology was still kind of primitive and developers were physically building their tracks differently.